Very funny circumstances.
Let me quickly get Ismail's reaction first to that. I mean, he says he cited 2 examples of where you haven't done well. This administration hasn't done well in the fight against corruption. He's talked about the perception, and perception is very important. In many instances, is reality for a lot of people. We've gone down on the rating, perception rating for corruption, which is a fact. And he's also talked about the Egmont Group. Recently, we see that the National Assembly has been struggling to try and meet the deadline to ensure that, you know, we're not expelled from that group. What is your reaction to that?
Well, thank you very much for having me. I think, like the Vice President said, corruption in this country has become systemic. And to wipe it out, it's going to be a lot of work in progress. And I don't think anyone, not Egmont Group, not the Transparency International, certainly not my friend Onoja, would doubt the fact that this government is doing its best in terms of fighting corruption. Now, he mentioned something like that there's been a report that said that about 400 billion naira has been paid in bribes since 2015. Well, you see, as a politician, first and foremost, I would say that most of those people, the officials of government that are still collecting bribes, are still the PDP people that we left in office. You know, and we're fighting seriously against that.
In other
corruption,
words, APC people do not collect bribes?
Well, certainly, well, he hasn't given me an example. So, you know, we've been fighting for it, that we've left a lot of PDP people in office, and we've left a lot of people who have been used to this system of corruption. I don't know, the Transparency International Index was bad, there's no doubt about it. We're going to work a lot more harder to make sure that we go up in the perception index, there's no doubt about it. But there's so many things we're doing as a government to make sure that we climb up in the perception index and that we are up at this issue of corruption.
Do you believe that Nigerians would buy that, though? I mean, the APC is made up of officials that fled in from the PDP. Do you really believe that Nigerians would buy this notion that the people that steal money or accept bribes are solely those who came from the CPC or the ACN or whatever other strand that formed the APC?
You know, we had a cardinal principle once we come into the APC when we were in campaign. And the president and the vice president and so many other people that are leading this administration were never in the PDP, 1. And 2, we had the cardinal principle, so whoever came knew what the deal he was getting in the beginning. So we had our, you know, with our rules of engagement clear from day one.
Now, from which strand did the former SGF, for example, come from?
Yeah, that was a bad example. Yeah, well, that was why we had to fire him.
Okay. That was a bad example. I mean, you have to just look at how it goes. I mean, before you fired him, according to, in your words, because I mean, listen to the words of people like Senator Shehu Sani, who say that the president is quick to fight corruption when, you know, with insecticide, when he perceives it's from the opposition, but around his own people,
no,
you know,
that's
he's
not
using
true.
deodorant.
That's not
that
true.
is coming from an APC member in the National Assembly.
That is true, but you see, the president took his time to make sure that this report was not just mischievous, and then when it was clear that there was a clearly wrongdoing that has happened, he fired him. Simple.
And that was all. That was where it would seem that it ended, until there was another alarm raised before we saw that there was any investigation being done by the EFCC. And even then, nobody knows just how thorough that investigation. We don't know whether it was just for the cameras or for the photo optics.
EFCC would have to answer that, but I can assure you that you know, the agencies have been prompted to go and do the needful.
Mr. Onoja, I have a few questions. The first one is, we know that Vice President Shibaju came out recently and said that, look, 150 billion naira was stolen a few weeks before the election, etc. Jonathan, the former president, Goodluck Jonathan's spokesman, came out and said that this is all a lie, etc., etc. What is the truth in your estimation?
The truth is that, well, he who alleges must prove. It's the simple position of law, simple position of facts. And we have seen repeatedly over the last 3 years, a lot of allegations that go unsubstantiated. People just throw numbers out. Even in the vice president's comments, he just threw numbers out, right? And I'll say this.
You don't think that the vice president will know? I mean, he heads, let me put this in context. He heads the Economic Council of this current administration. I mean, that council has the Central Bank of Nigeria. Thankfully, the central bank governor who was in the Jonathan administration is still the person continuing under this administration. You don't think that some of the statements are from fact? And when we also look at the fact that our reserves were down, way below $30 billion and are only just beginning to get up, you don't think that we have something to draw from there?
I'll tell you something, right? I'll say two things quickly to address this. One, like I said, he alleges must prove, right? If the Nigerian government has evidence of wanton theft of Nigerian monies, and the Nigerian government fails, refuses, and or neglects to arrest, detain, prosecute, secure a conviction of the people against who these allegations lie, it is a failure of the Nigerian government. It is fundamental to